This is the new Lumix 24 to 60mm f2.8, their new affordable f2.8 all-purpose standard zoom. Panasonic already have their fantastic 24 to 70mm f2.8 of course, which they've had right from the very start of the S1 line 6 years ago. But it's quite an expensive lens and it's big. I think it's actually the heaviest and biggest lens of all the brand's standard 24 to 70 f2.8 zooms now. This new 24 to 60mm though is not a replacement to the 24 to 70. It's a more affordable little sibling. It's pretty much half the cost and pretty much half the weight, which makes a huge difference. This makes this a fantastic partner to not just the new S1 Mark II and S1 Mark IIe launched alongside this, but definitely the rest of Lumix full frame range like the S5 Mark II and S9, and also every other L-mount camera like the Sigma BF or even Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K and Pixis, especially as we start to see autofocus on those Blackmagic cameras. Physically, this lens is exactly what you would expect. It's very simple in design, but there's an assignable button, which is nice. It weighs only 544 grams, while the regular 24 to 70 is 935 grams. And it feels very light and well balanced on camera when you're holding it handheld. The front is a 77mm filter thread and there's no image stabilization here. When you zoom, it does extend, but not too much. Okay, let's go through the image quality tests. Throughout these, we've used the original Lumix 24 to 70mm f2.8 to compare against, which we need to remember is a much higher end lens, which costs basically twice as much. So it's going to be interesting to see just how close the 24 to 60 can get in performance. Let's start with our usual interview style setup in the showroom and have a little look at bokeh on the fairy lights in the background. It looks good. It holds up really well against the 24 to 70. They have a similar amount of contrast and minimal onion skinning. However, the 24 to 60 doesn't have quite as even a shape. The 24 to 70 is very round in the bokeh, while the 24 to 60 has a bit more cutting going on. In our bookcase test for sharpness, the 24 to 60 does really well. At 24mm, both lenses are pretty much identical in the middle at f2.8, and then at the edges, the 24 to 60 actually is a bit sharper. There's quite a bit more vignetting on the 24 to 60 though, wide open. It's the same story as f5.6 as well, identical in the center and a bit sharper on the 24 to 60 at the edges. This is now the longer end of each lens. We've walked back on the 24 to 70 to match framing between the different focal lengths. And as you can see, it's the exact same situation. So although both lenses perform very well, the 24 to 60 is that bit sharper across the board, especially at the edges, which is very impressive. We also had a look at breathing, and both lenses do very well. They performed about the same really. Both have a little bit going on, but it's very under control. Let's now have a quick look at autofocus. This is a simple interview setup where Liam will sit forward and backwards in his chair, and we can use the fairy lights in the background to see if there's any twitchiness going on as the camera pulls focus. And again, both lenses are very similar and both track him perfectly, but they do both actually have a little bit of unnatural twitchiness going on, a bit of that feeling to them. Now you don't notice it when you're looking just at Liam's face, but you do when you're watching the fairy lights behind him closely. Both lenses are the same though, so this, to be honest, is probably something we could iron out in the camera settings rather than something that is down to the lenses. So that is the new all-purpose standard zoom lens from Lumix, the 24 to 60mm f2.8. And it's pretty impressive. You know, nothing groundbreaking or revolutionary or anything like that, but it is clearly a practical and sensible choice. It's nearly the exact same focal length and use case as the standard 24-70, very similar optical performance as well, but half the cost and half the weight. Sure, you do lose that little bit of reach on the long end, but it's not a huge difference. And I imagine that's going to be a trade-off that many people will be absolutely fine with making, considering the price and the size of this thing. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this became one of their best-selling lenses. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to buy one for yourself, of course, just head over to ProAV. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.